First, let's focus on that big story. The Uber cab service company, whose driver has been arrested for raping a 27-year-old woman. He's been blacklisted and banned in the national capital. The poor background checks by the company have come to light, especially with details now emerging that the driver was a serial rapist and out on bail. It appears that he got a fake license. The CEO of taxi company Uber has condemned the incident but has deflected the blame. Ankit Tyagi has our top story tonight.
Two and a half days after the horrific rape in Delhi, the accused finally unmasked by the Delhi police. The Black Mask protesting the 32-year-old accused's identity off after he refused to be part of a test identification parade. He is now in 3-day police custody.
3 years after the Delhi gang rape shook the entire nation, many promises were made and protocols laid. But this latest incident of rape in an Uber cab once again highlights the laxity in the private taxi service network and negligence on the part of the police.
It was a chase which began with the victim taking a photograph of the cab after being dropped off by the accused. Cops were immediately informed and 12 teams were formed. The cops could not find where the Uber office was. A DCP had to in fact download the app to call the Uber taxi, which took the team to the company's office. The taxi and the accused were later traced to Mathura. The hammer has meanwhile come down hard on Uber. The taxi company has been banned from Delhi. The statement banning Uber said the commuter was provided with an all-India permit cab even though she requested the taxi for a short trip, blacklisting Uber from providing any transport service in the National Capital Territory. The accused is a repeat offender, having been in jail earlier for a rape in 2011. More shockingly, a verification letter from a Delhi police station surfaced late in the day with the signature of an additional DCP. A letter later declared fake by the Delhi police chief.
हमने इसके बारे में सूचना प्राप्त की है और ये पता चला है कि जिस तारीख का ये सर्टिफिकेट दिखाया गया है उस तारीख को जिस अफसर के सिग्नेचर हैं वो अफसर वहाँ पे पोस्टेड नहीं था. सो प्रिमा फेसाई ये जो एंटीसीडेंट्स वेरिफिकेशन सर्टिफिकेट है ये झूठा है.
The case has already opened a can of worms, trashing claims of safety by taxi companies. But fears are that the current outrage may fizzle out without much impact, just like the case 2 years ago. With Ankit Tyagi in New Delhi, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
Now, this is not the first time there have been murmurs about several regulations, both financial and security, being flouted by Uber. But the alleged rape of a 27-year-old in the national capital has pushed authorities to ban and blacklist Uber. But just how did a taxi service launched just about 12 months ago start giving so many other companies a run for their money? Here's the story of the private taxi cab.
One of the world's hottest startups, estimated to be worth $40 billion, with a presence in 200 countries across the world. So what makes Uber tick? Download the Uber application on your phone, and this is in fact what the Uber app really looks like. So once you've signed in to the Uber application, it will pick up your location. So the location currently is Film City. From my current location, the closest Uber is 13 minutes away. If I tap on this, it will send me the name and the number of the driver. It will also send me the details of the vehicle that is coming to pick me up, and I can in fact track the movements of the driver through the smartphone app. So it is really simple to book in Uber.
Uber does not directly own the cabs, neither does it employ the drivers. In fact, the company's interaction with the drivers is minimal and with the customer, next to zero. In upwardly mobile Delhi, Uber Fast became a revolutionary way to escape long waiting periods on the phone and repeat information like pick up and drop addresses. The human interface was done away with.
I will prefer her to go with someone, not alone.
I am overcautious when I come to Delhi.
I will not recommend her. She's my wife. I'll never ask her to travel alone.
Unlike most other radio cabs that have police-verified ID cards and physical GPS devices, an Uber driver's only link to the company is through a mobile app. The 32-year-old accused of raping a finance executive in Delhi on Friday evening had deleted the app that night and gone off Uber's grid, making it impossible for the company alone to track him. Uber's entry into India forced rivals to rework their marketing strategies and regulators to re-evaluate their rules. The competition is fierce, with companies wooing customers with price cuts and drivers with incentives. The biggest casualty, it appears, in this corporate battle has been women's safety. Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
As I said, the big question, the Uber taxi rape, has the system failed the Indian woman? It's not just about one taxi service. It appears the entire system has collapsed. Joining me now, Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer. Also joining me from the Congress party, Ragini Nayak. Remember, the Congress party has now taken up this issue. Sanjay Kaul of the BJP, which is finding itself in the line of fire because they say it's election time in Delhi. But away from the politicians, I'm also going to be joined by experts and people who take taxis every day. Joining me now is Purti Simon. He is PR executive and Uber cab user from Bangalore. Appreciate your joining me. Gulnar Virt is MD #marketing.
Yes.
And you're based in Gurgaon and you also use similar cab services. I'm also joined by Aishwarya Dravid. She's the features editor at Cosmopolitan and she also uses a cab service like this. Sarabjit Singh is MD KTC India and Secretary of the Indian Tourist Transporter Association. So you will give us a perspective from a Transporters Association. And Vinay Tiwari, Managing Editor, Headlines Today, who's bringing us all the unlearned lessons of this, what is a terrible incident that has taken place again. And I'm going to come to those unlearned lessons. Taxi rape, 5 unlearned lessons, and we're going to go through those programs. And today we are asking you for solutions here on the News Today at 9. The public transport licensing norms, we're going to look at that. The public transport licensing norm, because the driver's previous crime record was not verified. It's mandatory under the law. The GPS is mandatory in radio cabs. It was not installed. That's also mandatory under the law. The driver was not wearing a PSV badge. That's mandatory under the law. Radio taxi licensing mandates, GPS and control room, it was again absent in this case. So how do we ensure better licensing, public transport licensing system? But first, I want to come to my 3 guests who travel by this. And I want each of you to tell me your case. Why don't you start, Aishwarya? Tell me in your case, the kind of, have you felt safe or unsafe when you go back home every night in a private cab?
Well, actually, the reason why anyone or most of my friends, in fact, use Uber Cab is because it's a US company. You would think and you would assume that it's just safer. You wouldn't use any other cab service except for Uber, and that's primarily one of the reasons why I use it as well. But I tend to not use any cab service alone because I don't feel safe at all in any cab service.
You don't feel safe at all in any cab service today?
Cab service today.
What about you?
In fact, you know, the nature of our business is such where we have meetings all across Delhi and NCR. And, you know, with the assurance, we also start booking Ubers for our team members. But we've, you know, haven't even received that assurance of safety or efficiency because I can recall certain incidents where the drivers did not even know the ways. And this is in broad daylight. So I really wonder at night, you know, if that professionalism was even
So why do you go?
on.
Why do you take it? Is it because you have no option?
You know, honestly, there is no other option. There is no public transport, especially in Delhi NCR. It's not like Bombay where, you know, you can take an auto and travel. In Delhi, it is very, very difficult, especially for women. You can't take metros at any time. In fact, I can, even if it is private transport, you know, there are men who are like following you around, stalking you. 2-3 weeks back, there was an incident in Noida, in fact, where a woman is driving.
You wouldn't take a metro?
You
don't
can't.
want to take
You-
a metro. You don't
can
want.
you-
You believe that that's even equal. You feel
think,
equally unsafe.
You know,
Especially
equally
after the
unsafe
metro
anywhere.
incident.
Yeah, you name any public transport. Everywhere there is an incident, and year on year, you know, we keep talking about the rape incidents. There is no action whatsoever which is taken.
Let me then go to my guest in Bangalore. Do you feel the same way in Bangalore, ma'am? Do you feel the same way when you travel by a cab in Bangalore?
Absolutely. I must say that Bangalore public transportation is very, very limited. And you either choose to go by an auto and get into a hustle, or you resort to a private taxi service like Uber. And which is why private taxis in Bangalore are much preferred now than any other private mode of transport. And that's why Uber has been our first preference for me and a lot of my colleagues. And often enough, when you're going back home late night after a party, you opt to call a cab vis-a-vis driving after a drink or two, because you think it's a safer option.
You know, I just want to know, though, whether you feel that it's therefore from what you're saying and what my guests here in Delhi are saying, that you've got no option. Is that the only reason why you take private cabs? It's not a sense of safety, but you believe that they are safer than other options?
Yes.
Okay, I've got a guest from a private taxi service who's joining me from Chennai. Appreciate your joining us there from Chennai. Can you tell us, sir, the fact is you have one of the largest taxi services in the country. Why is it that my guests here in the studio still don't feel safe when they go by private cabs? Why can't you guarantee them? I come back to it, licensing norms. In this case, the driver was seen as someone who had a fake license. We can blame the police for that for a moment. But what about the verification processes that should be followed by private taxi services? Whether it is a GPS system installed, why are they not done? Is there a certain negligence that is there? Because all of you are pushing for greater numbers. You just want to have more cabs on the road so that you can increase your volumes.
At TaxiVasher, we have a very different kind of a model than other aggregators. We work through local operators, and these local operators in turn work with their family and friends, right? All these drivers come onto the platform with references, right? So each of these kind of small operators that we work with are enabled with the technology that we have, and we bring in the kind of consumers, the business that they want to get. And we work with multiple of these operators across the country.
Can you give me a guarantee? Can you give me a guarantee? Can you give me a guarantee that every taxi driver that you have, that you operate, is on a valid license? He's not using a fake license. That that you can assure our viewers that you do those background checks?
So, apart from the model that we have, which is distributed in nature and hence creates a credibility, we also make sure that every driver who comes onto the TaxiVasher network, his driving license, his cab badge is verified, his insurance details are taken. Also, the verification details that are necessary are taken from him. Everything is uploaded into the system and with expiry date, so that if his driving license is expiring, we give him an alert a month before saying that his driving license is expiring. Please go and renew it.
Okay.
So these are some of the things that we do. Plus, we also make sure that each and every driver is taken through training, a rigorous training, wherein we tell them how to behave with the customers. We teach them how to use the technology that we have. We also take them through the processes that we have at TaxiVasher to make sure that every ride is safe for our customers.
Okay, so you're saying
these are some of the things that we do.
Okay, you're claiming that you've done those background checks, which then comes to the role of the police. Because at the end of the day, if I look at licensing norms and public transport licensing norms, Kiran Bedi, in this particular case, it appears that the individual concerned, someone who had committed an act of rape or alleged act of rape, then gets bail, is now in a situation where he goes back and drives a cab by getting a fake license. What does that say about the system by which licenses can be obtained?
I think we are just living by broken down systems. And these are only these are only reactionary. We are working with broken down systems. These are all band-aided systems. Even after December incident of Nirbhay, I think what we are looking is every time there's a crisis, we do a little band-aid. And then we put it together. It's not a wholesome correction within the department, and there's not a wholesome coordination within the
How would I ensure? Since I'm looking for solutions, ma'am. Since I'm looking for solutions tonight, how would you ensure that every driver out on the road in a taxi, in a cab service had a valid license? How easy is it to get a fake license in a city like Delhi or indeed any city in this country?
Improve your verification systems. Is it biometric? Is it fingerprint? No. If it is not fingerprint, it's not biometric, you cannot rely on it. He can produce a fake certificate like he's done. As Mr. Basir mentioned, that this certificate, which is given of no record, is given signed by an officer who was not posted at that time. So he's managed just that paper. Why has just that paper been accepted by the company? Where is the authenticity of it? Right. So the point is, do we have foolproof verification systems? No fingerprint, no biometric. Why? Are these verification systems reliable? They're not. Why haven't we corrected them and addressed them over all these years? That is where our enforcement and our legislature and our judicial systems have been broken down. These are all band-aided systems and we're just managing to run it.
Can I get
That is why these crises happen.
Okay, you're saying that there are only temporary solutions. Can I get you in, Mr. Singh? Can you assure us, as you run a private taxi service for tourists, yes. Can you assure me that all the drivers that you have valid licenses today?
Yes, all the drivers who are working with us have.
No, but as Kiran Bedi says, someone comes to you with a paper, says, "Mera ye license hai." Then it turns out that the person has a fake license. How do you know? Do you do the background checks?
Yeah. As a tourist transport operator company, we have to apply for the verification, police verification. That was very tedious job 2 years ago. Now it is done in relatively earlier time. But the problem is when you have people from other states, there is no system which can guarantee that the fake license is not there.
So he could have got a fake license from another state.
That is possible.
And that is a possibility. So you are not ruling that out.
That is a possibility, and we have met all concerned in this, right from the union government to the Delhi government and other state governments, that there should be some foolproof method by which you can verify the driver's
I'm going to come to you, Vinay, verification, because in this case, as you've been pointing out and you put this down, driver's previous crime record not verified, GPS is mandatory in radio cabs, not installed, driver not wearing a PSV badge even though it's mandatory under the law, radio taxi licenses mandates, GPS and control room absent in this case. Is this only about Uber as it's being made out, or is there a larger problem in the way licensing is done in public transport?
No, not at all. In fact, the discourse which has turned into an anti-Uber discourse is completely missing the woods for the trees. That's not how the solution will come. And I think the idea of Delhi government to ban a service is as pea-brain as it can get. This is in context, especially with what happened 2 years ago. That incident happened in a chartered bus. The Delhi police then went and cancelled 400 permits of chartered buses on the grounds that they were violating norms. The question is, why do you allow 400 buses which are violating existing permit norms to operate? This is a new business phenomena. Radio taxi is a service that's been liberalized in the by the Delhi government 5-6 years ago. It's a new emerging business scenario. You do not have any policy as of now which governs the radio taxi operators in terms of preventive policing or preventive governance. That every single rule which is listed out by the Transport Department of Delhi government was not being followed, is not being followed by most radio taxi operators. That is one, Rajdeep. The other bigger point is, Mrs. Bedi is on our panel tonight. When she was in service, during her tenure, a concept of PolNet was launched, which is essentially a countrywide police network through satellite, where criminal records of every single police station were supposed to be uploaded through an online database system. This individual who has a previous criminal record in Gurgaon, the Delhi police is totally unaware of it because you have no system which actually even marries the six sisters cities.
So I could be someone who has committed an act of rape in Gurgaon, get bail, get acquitted, either get acquitted or get bail, and then come to Delhi and get a license.
Because the Delhi police would have absolutely no information in the absence of any technology input. And this is the one lesson that we don't learn, that technology, civic services, municipal services are all part of crime prevention in a big city.
I want to come to the second point, because that is an important point that comes in. Lack of deterrence. Here is an Uber accused out on bail in the Sahara Mall rape case. He's charged with repeated offence crime. It's happened in a taxi parked in a public area. There seems to be an absence of any fear of the law. You know, Ragini Naik and Sanjay Kaul, you're the two politicians on my program. You all shout and scream after the Nirbhaya case saying, let's strengthen the law. But don't do enough for enforcement. As Vinay is pointing out, as Kiran Bedi is pointing out, these are band-aid solutions. It's not about having a tougher law. It's about enforcement. It's about plugging the loopholes. And instead, what am I hearing today, Ragini Naik? You are calling for the head of Rajnath Singh and the BJP government. And Sanjay Kaul is looking at it from the point of view of, suggesting that the BJP that the central government should not be held responsible at all. It's a matter which should be confined to the Delhi police. I just want to know, Ragini Naik, do you concede that the problem lies in a lack of enforcement? That politicians shouting and screaming is not going to work? It's not about tougher laws.
Rajdeep, the Delhi police also reports to the center. So what kind of an argument is that? I don't know. But I think we need not look at the statistical analysis and records of the National Crime Bureau to understand the gravity of the situation. Crimes and atrocities against women are rising exponentially. As far as safety and security is concerned, I must say that there is an acute crisis. And I also endorse the view, I completely agree with the point of view that one should refrain from politicizing a sensitive issue. But having said that, I will also have to insist that there's a thin line of demarcation between politicization and questioning the political will of those who should be responsible, which in the current situation is the present day government.
You know, the irony is that when you were during the Nirbhaya case, the Congress made exactly the opposite argument. My worry is that the real problem is not, let me be honest with my viewers. I was actually planning.
Let me complete my point. I've been patiently waiting for 25 minutes. Please allow me to say what otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Please tell me.
You see, so the political will has to be checked. Apart from that, political responsibility also has to be checked. And one has to question the government as to what kind of messages are being sent across, what kind of examples are being set by the ministers, the leaders through their speeches, through their actions and through their policies, because that is very essential. When the Transport Ministry chooses to be silent on license reforms, on driver verification reforms, when the first 10-point agenda for the 100 days of the central government does not include any single point relating to gender issues and concerning women, when the Prime Minister, who in his election rallies went gaga over the Nirbhaya case, doesn't even tweet about this incident, what kind of messages are being sent across? And you will say that I'm trying to politicize, but this is the reality. How can the Prime Minister induct a rapist in his cabinet? How can the Bharatiya Janata Party try to shake hands with Mr. Muthalik? I mean, these are the questions which have to be asked to the present-day government because they're relevant to the current situation. What kind of law enforcement would you think can be enabled in this country? What is going to boost up the morale of the police when the government is sending across such messages?
You know, I have to confess that I always was tempted not to have any politicians on my show because I was worried that the moment you bring in politicians, it gets politicized. You made your point though, Ragini Naik. Sanjay Kaul, respond to that. You know, because the shoe is on the other foot now. 2 years ago during the Nirbhaya case, you said Sheila Dikshit had failed. The Delhi government was a total failure. Now they're saying the central government is a failure. Would you concede that politicians also, rather than blaming each other, need to start fixing the problem? The first one that I've given, as Vinay and Kiran Bedi are particularly pointing out, is poor implementation of public transport licensing.
Well, actually, I agree with all that you said. I'm surprised that there is so much protest by the Congress spokesperson when in fact Delhi is still recovering from two regimes, one after the other, which took no responsibility, in fact often aided such behavior by comments like we saw from Ms. Sheila Dikshit, and then a 49-day government by the Aam Aadmi Party.
They are protesting because you did exactly the same. You know, my worry is it's tit for tat.
No, it's not tit for tat. My point is that you have to put things in perspective. So I'm not denying any of the things that you are saying. Of course, it's about accountability. Of course, it's about police reforms. Of course, it's about all the things you said. But if you are really going to rationally dissect the issue, then you must also be able to rationally differentiate. So in this case, at least, let's be honest, there has absolutely been laxity on the part of the police. There has been, you also have to indict a little bit to some extent the judiciary, which does not respond anyway, faster than it normally is used to. We have seen the Nirbhaya case, we have seen the case dragging on and on. So there is no real deterrence which is also playing in. At the same time, in this particular case, the company in question is largely and hugely responsible. Any attempt at trying to give them a clean sheet would be criminal, for the simple reason that this is actually a company remote controlled. And there is absolutely no commitment to driver verification, to training, to a psychographic analysis of the people you're hiring.
Can I just hold on? Can I just take that to the expert? Because I want Kiran Bedi, you to give us, today is about solutions. We know, I think we all know the problem. We can identify the problems. I want the solution. Why do you believe that a crime happens in a taxi parked in a public area, which suggests to me and to many others an absence of fear of the law?
Well, we've inherited it. When has police and the judiciary been part of planned funds planning? No. They're all coming from unplanned funds. Do you have a prospective plan of policing for next 5 years and judiciary for next 5 years? No. There is no prospective plan. There's been deficient planning. There's been no planning concerning criminal justice system. And criminal justice system involves legislature updating the laws, executive, including the bureaucracy enforcing properly, and judiciary delivering it. Both judiciary and the executive are coming from unplanned funds. If you don't have funds next year, you cannot open more police stations, you cannot have more policemen, you cannot have more courts. And the judiciary, the legislature, as we know, very little legislates. So criminal justice system has never been as looked at comprehensively. And criminal justice system is not just police. Criminal justice system is prosecution and the judiciary, beginning with the politician. All the 4P have been deficient for last 60 years. 60 years. And we've been all part. We've been delivering with despite deficiency, I can tell you that.